All right, everybody. So let's go ahead and now finish up this first part of Unit 1. I know the presentation says Unit 2, but just kind of ignore that right now. What we're now going to talk about is the American Revolution. But before we get into the American Revolution, let's kind of give you some background. And remember, as with all videos, you can always pause anytime you want, and then you just kind of go back and see what Dr. Till was talking about. This is all on demand, so use it as you feel is needed for your filling notes. All right, so this will be starting when it says Unit 2, Chapter 4, note-taking guide. However, again, we still are talking about Unit 1. All right, so let's give you some backgrounds. Number 1, colonists arrive in America. I'm looking at the note-taking guide or filling notes. They elected leaders to do some of the early governance. Great Britain passes the Navigation Act so that the colonists only do business with Great Britain. Hello, mercantilism. From 1756 to 1763, the French and Indian War takes place. Great Britain taxes the colonists to pay for the war. Great Britain then signs the Proclamation of 1763 that says that the colonists can't move west of the Appalachian Mountains to appease their Indians, even though the colonists helped fight for the land. Great Britain then stations a permanent military to keep an eye on the upstart colonists. All right, so let's jump into it more. So here is a graphic illustrating the tensions because of England and its American colonies, how it intensified. So you can see the Great Migration, basically when you have all the individuals moving from Europe to the Americas, elected assemblies, and you basically see where we are right now is right here, where England stations a permanent military. That's the last thing I just spoke of. Again, pause as you feel is needed. So the relations are very strained. Great Britain felt that the colonists didn't pull their own weight. Americans were shocked at how bad Great Britain's military tactics were. America lost respect for the British military, that they didn't feel that the British shared the same values with them, and were angry because they weren't treated with respect they deserved as British subjects. Okay. Talk about solitary neglect is on the end. So let's go back. Remember what solitary neglect is as far as mercantilism. Government policy to be richer, stronger, and larger than any other nation through trade and commerce. Well, that's cool. But Great Britain had a lot of war debt, so that was a big issue there. Then also many in Great Britain felt that the colonists should be responsible for much of that because the war was fought to protect them. Great Britain felt that they needed to have a stronger control over the upstart colonies. And what does that mean? You basically have more military being put into place. And remember, the colonies supply raw materials, have few industries of their own. Everything is mainly done by Great Britain. Colonies were part of the triangular trade route, took run from the colonies from Africa, slaves from Africa to the West Indies, and molasses from West Indies to America. They had two types of taxes Great Britain imposed, both direct and indirect. Direct was taxes levied directly on individuals by the government. Indirect taxes hidden in the price of item. Kind of similar to what we got right now. Again, Great Britain had a huge debt. Meaning Great Britain felt that the colonists should be, a lot of people in Great Britain felt that the colonists should be responsible for the debt of the war because they fought to protect them. More so, Great Britain felt they needed to have a stronger control over the upstart colonists. They wanted to ensure their market while ending competitive competition in the colonies from other European nations. That's what it meant. Great Britain did not want competition from other nations. Okay. So issues behind the revolution, because now we're about to get into the actual American Revolution. Take a second and look at this. Pause the video if you need to. And then we're about to go into the timeline of events that actually led to the American Revolution. All right, first was a proclamation of 1763. It ended all settlement west of the Appalachian Mountains, sent troops in to enforce it, and colonists were very upset because they fought for the land. Then you had the Sugar Act of 1764. Okay, you had taxes on sugar and molasses. where the famous cry of no taxation without representation came from. They also boycotted and protested. Boycott means you stop spending money. Then you have some more issues. Then you had the Quarter Act passed in 1765. Colonists had to build and provide barracks or housing for Great Britain troops. The New York Assembly was suspended for refusal. They didn't want to pay the money for it. Then you had the Stamp Act of 1765, taxes on all paper print, anything that was in paper print, anything that was printed out on paper, we got tax on. Stamp Act, Congress was formed, boycott organized by the Sons of Liberty, and also some of the ladies too. They became a lot more active. Then you had the British pass the Salutary Acts, stated that the Parliament had the right to tax colonists because they represent the British men. Strong cry for no taxation without representation. Then you have the Townshend Acts. So the taxes on all glass, tea, lead, and paint. So at this point, you're being taxed on everything, all but tea. Okay. So everything was being taxed at this point except tea. But we all know tea is coming up. Then on March 5th, 1750s, when you had the Boston Massacre, where you had a crowd of about 50 to 60 that threw sticks at redcoats outside of the customs house where they collected taxes. Soldiers opened fire, 5 killed, including a slave Crispus attack. There were about one death. These are the first deaths before the revolution actually started. I'm sorry, guys. It's a quick video right here about the Boston Massacre. 2 weeks after an 11-year-old boy is killed in a standoff between countless British officials. Okay, so that's just some more background on the Boston Massacre. All right, so the next thing you got going on here is going to be the Tea Act of 1773. This is a tax on tea, led to the Boston Tea Party. Sons of Liberty, dressed as Indians, dumped approximately 342 chests of tea into the Boston Harbor, values over $1 million today. What did Britain pass to punish them? It was known as the Intolerable Conservable, so it's called Intolerable Acts to punish Boston. Okay. All right, for the sake of time, you guys can definitely go back and watch this video. Just go to YouTube and type in the story behind the Boston Tea Party, or you can just click on the active link that I have available for you for this whole Prezi. Okay. All right, so let's get more into those intolerable acts. So you had a couple things. This is going to be in your filling notes. This is number 11. Okay. Port Bill closed Port of Boston until tea was paid for. Massachusetts Governments Act. This is no more meetings without permission. You also have the Quarter Act. This was a little new. Now, no more public barracks. Now, Ricos live in homes. You also had the Administration of Justice Act. If you committed a crime, you could be tried in Great Britain or had a jury of all Great Britain citizens. No colonies will be involved. So the effects of these acts was a lot of boycotts was organized. What did the Daughters of Liberty do? They participated and organized the resistance. You also have you have the effigies. These are dummies hung from Liberty trees. And these dummies were hung from Liberty trees and tar. This is where you get the idea of tar and feathering from. Some of you might know about the Declaration of Independence.
All men are created equal, and they are endowed with the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Not so fast, Mr. Jefferson. These words from the Declaration of Independence and the facts behind them are memorable. In June 1776, a little more than a year after the war against England began with the Shah's army in Lexington and Concord, the Continental Congress was meeting in Philadelphia to discuss American independence. After long debates, a resolution of independence was approved on July 2nd, 1776. America was free, and men like John Adams thought we would celebrate that day further. But it was 2 days later that the Continental Congress voted to adopt the Declaration of Independence, largely written by Thomas Jefferson, offering all the reasons why the country should be free. More than 235 years later, we celebrate that day as Independence Day. But there are some pieces of the story you may not. First of all, Thomas Jefferson gets the credit for writing the Declaration, but 5 men have been given the job to come up with a document explaining why the Declaration of Independence. For instance, Robert Sherman, Benjamin Franklin, and John Adams were hired first, and it was Adams who suggested that the young and literary Thomas Jefferson join because they needed a influential Virginia delegation. Adams thought Jefferson was a much better writer than Adams. Second, though Jefferson never used footnotes or credited his sources, some of his memorable words and phrases were borrowed from other writers who had slightly tweaked. Then Franklin and Adams offered a few suggestions, but the most important change came after the Declaration was turned over to the full Congress. For 2 days, a very unhappy Thomas Jefferson sat and fumed while his words were being delivered. The Congress made a few minor corrections and one big deletion. In the long list of charges that Jefferson made against the key amendment, author of the Declaration had a huge idea that George III was responsible for the slave trade and was preventing America from ending slavery. That was not only untrue, but Congress wanted no mention of slavery in the nation's founding document. The reference was clear before the Declaration was approved and signed. But years opened the hard question: how could the men who were about to sign a document celebrating liberty and equality and set a system in which some owned others? It is a question that will eventually bring the nation to civil war and one can still ask today.
Okay, so that's just some background on the Declaration of Independence, because that happened in 1774 with the first Conference of Congress. So then this right here is going to be a scene from John Adams of Tar and Feathering. I'm going to show this scene, but I'm going to go ahead and finish these notes out for you guys as well. So in September 1774, 56 delegates and 12 colonies agreed upon the Declaration of Independence and agreed to support others, continue boycotts, and establish a militia. Okay. So this is a video on tar and feathering. There is some graphic images in this video, so be warned. You can move ahead if you feel like you need to. This is tar and feathering. This scene is to be a little graphic if you want to go ahead and skip. This was a very common practice. This is hot tar. Hot tar. This is from the film John Adams. You can watch this anytime. It's an HBO special. If you're streaming, you can find it on HBO. Like, I think it might be on HBO Max actually too. This was unfortunately a common act. And that's Sam Adams. Okay. No more kings. All right, actually, let me go back real quick. Both these two videos here, you guys can, I'm gonna give you guys a link to the overall Prezi was beginning for you guys to go back and look at this. But you can pull these videos up on YouTube, or you can watch them through the clicking on the Prezi itself. Like I said, it was 56 delegates, 12 colonies, wrote to the king demanding repeal of the acts, rights to life, liberty, and property, rights to colonial legislators, agreed to support each other, carry on boycotts, and to establish militias and stockpiles of weapons. So they're ready to go fight now. Shot heard around the world happened on April 19th, 1775. So right now what I'm doing is looking at the battles chart. This was about, to help you guys out, 700 soldiers were sent to Concord to destroy weapons, led by Gage. Sons of Liberty sent Paul Revere, Samuel Prescott, Dowles, 40 others to warn about the Great Britain approach. So Lexington and Concord, this is more information about that. So you talk about who won, brief summary of the events. You have that here for you. The British reached Lexington, met by 70 Minutemen. A colonist killed, 10 wounded. One Great Britain soldier wounded. Colonists dispersed. March on then Concord, Captain next. Find little gunpowder on the way to Boston. Attacks the Minutemen. 250 Great Britain and 100 Americans are killed. Pictures from that area. Okay. So you have now the Second Continental Congress, Olive Branch petition done by Ben Franklin, set up the United Defense Continental Army, approved Washington as, this is George Washington, as commander-in-chief of the military. All right, so fighting for independence, this kind of gives you some British strengths, some American strengths, some British weaknesses, and also American weaknesses. Go ahead and take a second and look at that. Keep going. You always pause the video anytime you feel comfortable. Give me liberty or give me death is most famously known by Patrick Henry. All right, don't worry about the DBQ. All right, let's go through the battle chart. So you got Fort in New York. Green Mountain Boys from Vermont attacked and captured Fort Full of British supplies. And then you have Bunker Hill, which happened on June 1775. Americans occupied the hill in Boston. 3 Great Britain attacks uphill led by Thomas Gage. This was called the Gentleman's War. Americans lost on the 3rd attack, but still morale was victory. About 40% casualties for Great Britain. So what else is going on? You have George III hires Hessians, who are colonists, who are divided. You have the Patriots. Excuse me. You got Patriots, you got the Loyalists, you got the Neutrals. Thomas Paine writes Common Sense, which really gets into the idea of spreading the idea of like breaking away from Great Britain. Like, why are we? It's common sense that we live across the ocean, also known as the ponds, as far as the Atlantic Ocean, from Great Britain. Why are we still following him? All right. Who else is influencing college? You have John Locke. You also have Baron Mustakeek. John Locke writes Natural Rights. Government is for the good of the people, which is a social contract. He really, then Baron really agreed with Locke, but he also makes an argument for 3 branches of government. All right, the Declaration of Independence, you got 4 things. You have people have the natural right to life, liberty, and property. If a government does not respect people's natural rights, the people have the right to form a new government. The British government has repeatedly violated the American colonists' natural rights, and the American colonies are free and independent states, no longer ruled by British governments. All right. So I would definitely suggest the video went back. I just posted this video. You can go watch John Adams again and see a full reading of the Declaration of Independence. It's more about the Liberty Bell. So you can definitely pause this video right now to do a little bit more reading on the Liberty Bell. Here's Independence Hall, where they actually signed the Declaration of Independence. So now on August 1776 in New York City, you had 32,000 Great Britain soldiers take a hold of New York City for the next 7 years. Great Britain offers pardons to American army. Washington refuses and retreats. So then you have Trenton, New Jersey on Christmas night, 1776. Washington crosses the Delaware River and attacked by 1,300 Hastings. Surprise attack, kill and capture 1,000 of them. Okay. Victory boasts patriots. Doctors found note on John Hall, who was the Hessian leader, warning of attack, not even opened. So they actually knew the attack was coming. They ignored it. There was not a lot of respect for the American colonists. So these are some American problems at this point. The big one is a lack of supplies. Let's talk about bread, wine, and Germantown, Pennsylvania. So this was a Great Britain victory that led to the capture of Philadelphia. Second Continental Congress then fled because they was in Philadelphia, and Great Britain later evacuated the city to concentrate on New York City. So then the next thing you have coming up will be Saratoga in October 1977. Just for this line here is supposed to be over here. It's just the editing. Important American victory. Great Britain attempted to split the colonies in half. This was a turning point and led to the French alliance. Patriots began to believe they could win. Next up is going to be the winter of 1777 through 1778, which was Valley Forge. This was a winter where you had over 10,000 soldiers. One force died due to a lack of food, cold, frozen feet, was amputated, lack of shoes, smallpox. Washington used time to train, and then they became very unbeatable because, again, before this time period, they was not trained as being military soldiers. So then in September 1780, the capture of Benedict Arnold. Let's you read over that real quick. Again, this was a whole idea that he decided to go against Great Britain. Excuse me, he actually went against the colonists. Okay, so you got that fill in. Let's go ahead and go to the South now. Fighting in the South. General Cornwallis. General Cornwallis is depicted in the movie The Patriot. It's a pretty good movie. It's pretty accurate as far as this part of historical figures is. General Cornwallis switched tactics and decided to attack from the South through South and North Carolina, support loyalists, and planned to march to Virginia to meet up with Great Britain to split the United States in half. Yorktown then happened. French ships jeopardized Great Britain's blockade of American ports, kept Great Britain from arriving on the coast. George Washington attacked Cornwallis with the help of the French, led by Marquis de Lafayette, and Great Britain surrenders. So this is that famous battle we were just talking about. Here's what happened as far as the Battle of Yorktown, American colonies, British forces, where you can see the deaths, wounded, things of that nature. Pause at any time. So you wanted independence, but American hardships, financing the war. You had disruption in trade, blockades, profiteering, inflation. Then you had the Treaty of Paris, 1783, which officially ended the war. British recognizes the United States as an independent nation. Land borders are created and returns Florida to Spain for now. You don't have to get Spain back from Florida again later on. Okay. All right, so just go back one more time to review the causes of the American Revolution. The Proclamation of 1763 stops colonists from moving west. Parliament then taxes colonists to pay British war debts. Intolerable Acts set up harsh rule in Massachusetts. The effects: the colonists declare independence. British surrender at Yorktown. British recognize American independence. U.S. borders extend to Florida and Mississippi River. The United States Constitution is then going to be adopted. All right, so that's for the most part is all the effects of the American Revolution. The next unit we're going to go into, we're going to start talking about the Constitution. And we're actually going to pick up on this presentation. We start getting into the Constitution. All right, so good job, everybody. See you guys next time around.